Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Desolation. And we have a great episode in store for you tonight. We are one episode removed from Doomsday Select. And in the ring, we have a special guest joining us tonight. I'm Taz and I'm Joey Styles. And let's take you inside the ring. You all want to know who the man with the bat in the ring is? Well, my name is Negan, and I am the advocate to one of the most badass acquisitions anybody has had the pleasure of signing. My time has come to be here on Desolation, because a little birdie told me that this is the place to be if you are a wrestler. And this is Zaster. And Zaster is going to create disaster across the women's division, starting here on the first match. This is yours now, Zaster. Now me and Zaster have big kick-ass. What the hell? What? Roxanne Perez! We have another new signing here on Desolation. And she is coming face to face with Zaster, who has a barbed wire bat in hand. Well, I'm looking for a fight. And Zaster, if you put down that bat, then I'll give you a quick lesson in why you are on my show. Wow, the challenge has been laid out. Alright, little lady, challenge accepted. Roxanne Perez, who is making her debut, is saying that this is her ring. What confidence, and she goes right after Zaster, trying to roll her up, but Zaster holds on. And Zaster brings her around into a body slam. A big body slam center of the ring, but Zaster misses the knee and gets hung up on the top rope. Roxanne Perez, big neck breaker springing off the ropes, but Zaster right back at her. Big shot by Zaster, picking up Roxanne Perez and a butterfly suplex. Roxanne Perez fighting from underneath. She's got the head scissored, but Zaster brings her back up and slams her back down center of the ring. Jumps up to the second rope, misses the elbow drop. Not only does she have the size, but she is quick. Perez springing off the middle rope, Hurricane Rana, and she nails it. Zaster goes over. Looked like she was going to hang on, but Roxanne Perez had her off balance, and another drop kick to Zaster. Zaster right back to her feet. Roxanne Perez rolls Zaster through, and a big head kick to a seated Zaster. No, guys, I think me and Zaster are finally home. Negan claims that him and Zaster, that this is their new home, and we'll see if Zaster can get the win here tonight and prove that statement correct. Very confident is the advocate for Zaster, Negan. And why wouldn't I be confident? Do you see this winning personality that I bring to the table? This absolute alpha monster that I've brought to the table? Do you see how she just kicked Roxanne Perez's head off? We are not just here for fun and games. We are here to take over the women's division. Roxanne Perez, about to say, gets back into the action, but it's a back body drop, and Zaster springboard boot and a kitchen sink, dominating Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez getting nuggets of offense in this match. Most of the match is that power by Zaster. She springs up to the middle rope. Roxanne Perez meets her up there. Arm drag Zaster off the top rope. That was nice. That was nice. I'll give it to her. But Zaster's not going down easy, and she's not going down at all. Maybe after that code red. Nah, I was wrong. She comes back immediately with a knee, taking Roxanne Perez out. And that is her finishing move. She calls that the gravy train, and it is over for Perez.
And your winner, disaster.
These things take time, man. I'm trying to get out unscathed. Excuse me? Excuse me? Yeah, you better get out of here. Keep walking. Hey, Rosie, you want to explain what that was all about? I don't think you would understand, Hurricane. And Molly, what exactly is there to understand? Yeah, big guy, explain yourself. You're back here talking to the enemy, and your explanation is that we wouldn't understand? We're your friends, Rosie. We're the only ones that would understand. Now spill the beans. All I have to say is that Jamal, to me, is family. You might not understand that. Whoa, wait a minute. You say he's your family, Rosie, but family wouldn't do the things that he's done. That's fair. But people can change, Hurricane. And when I talk to Jamal, no, he doesn't regret the things that he has done. But he doesn't want to be an enemy to us Seekers. Well, that's too bad, because he made his bed. Hey yo, after a very successful Doomsday Select for us at NWO, it was supposed to be tonight a night of celebration for all of us. But we were betrayed by our leader Muda. He just left us high and dry. For Tajiri? Yeah, I don't understand. But you were looking at the new leader of NWO. Andre stepped up when we needed him the most. And for that, you are our brother. And we all want you as the leader of NWO. You got that win for us on top of the cage, crushing our enemy with your elbow. And we look forward to many more victories with Andre the Giant leading NWO to the apex of factions. We know Undertaker is on our side, but Sting, we haven't heard from you yet. You've been quiet. So what's going on? Sting not offering up any explanation. Wait, what the hell? Oh my god, it's Ted DiBiase and the $1 Million Foundation surrounding the ring. What is going on? What is this, Ted? Wait a minute! Look from high above, Sting and Darby Allin ascending from the rafters. Sting and Darby Allin back to back here to back up the NWO. And you see the newest member of the $1 Million Foundation, Ted DiBiase's son, Ted DiBiase Jr. And with Sting and Darby Allin, the odds are even and the $1 Million Foundation back off. We are set for NWO versus $1 Million Foundation faction warfare. Seth Rollins takes on Scott Hall. And the bell sounds and Seth Rollins and Scott Hall lock up. They will have the power advantage. Seth Rollins backing up Scott Hall into the corner. And a clean break. Tapping Scott Hall on the chest. Scott Hall goes behind Rollins and takes him down to the mat. Or goes behind and gets the headlock. Rollins backs him into the ropes. Scott Hall releases, goes for a clothesline. Seth Rollins ducks underneath, misses the boot, and gets the arm drag to Scott Hall. Stays on top of Scott Hall and stretching him on the ground. Scott Hall trying to get up or get to the ropes. He gets to his feet and a wicked chop by Rollins. But Scott Hall takes him over with a hip lock takeover. Rollins back to his feet and takes out Scott Hall over the top rope. Jumps on the steps and tornado DDT to Scott Hall on the ground. No protection at all. Seth Rollins ramming Scott Hall's head into the barricade, shots to the back and picks him up, but Scott Hall escapes and an arm drag to Seth Rollins onto a table set up. And Scott Hall runs on top of the table and big shots to Rollins in front of the crowd. The crowd getting their money's worth, seeing the stars battle right in front of their very eyes. And Scott Hall with a DDT to Seth Rollins off the table to the floor. Rollins comes back immediately with a Northern Light suplex to Scott Hall on the table. And in the ring to break up the count. And Rollins springing up. And Phoenix splash to Scott Hall on the table. Seth Rollins landing in the crowd. Scott Hall pulls him out of the crowd and throws Rollins into the steps. These two throwing bombs at each other and keep coming back. They do not want to let their faction leaders down or their faction mates. Scott Hall suplex to Rollins on the steel steps. And throws Rollins back into the ring. Scott Hall on top of Rollins. He's got the arm trapped in a lariat to Rollins, sending him inside out. Scott Hall pulls Rollins up to his feet, butterflying the arms. But Seth Rollins escapes off the back. Kick to the gut, knee to the head. Misses the enziguri. That takes him out on the apron, and he springs back in, knee to the side of the head of Scott Hall, and picks him back up. And a ripcord knee, but Scott Hall able to avoid it. And Rollins up in a DDT, center of the ring. And Scott Hall with a neck breaker to Rollins, and goes for the cover. Gets a 1 count, Rollins out at 1. And Scott Hall trying to grind down Rollins, but Rollins rolls up Scott Hall and gets a 2 count. Rollins over and another roll up, but instead of going for the pin, Scott Hall counters and rolls Rollins up. Not sure what Rollins was going for, but he kicks out of the roll-up attempt by Scott Hall, and a big clothesline by Scott Hall, and a back elbow. Rollins misses the clothesline. Scott Hall, brain buster, center of the ring, and a shoulder tackle. Scott Hall hits the ropes. Rollins ducks underneath over the back of Scott Hall, and Rollins misses the drop kick. And Scott Hall sidewalk slam, winding it up, and sends Rollins crashing down to the mat. A knee to the Rollins gut. Flips over Scott Hall and a head scissor, taking Scott Hall down. Misses the boot. Drop kick, nails Scott Hall, and Rollins kips up. Scott Hall misses the Russian attempt, and Seth Rollins with a kick to the head to Scott Hall in the corner. He jumps up to the top. Phoenix splash, nails it. And Rollins might have it here. 2 count. No, Scott Hall kicks out at the very last 0.1 second. Rollins with a big enziguri over the top rope. Scott Hall misses the clothesline attempt. And Rollins crucifix driver, but no, Scott Hall powers him back up. Rollins reverses, picks Scott Hall up, and a buckle bomb. He's underneath the ropes on the apron, and a kick to the head of Scott Hall. And Seth Rollins with a full set of steel steps, throwing him in the ring. And Julia Price telling Rollins he can't use those steel steps as a weapon. He shouldn't even have them in the ring. Phoenix splash off the steel steps, but he misses. And Scott Hall ramming Seth Rollins' head into the steps. Scott Hall pulls Rollins up on top of the steel steps, and Rollins back body drops Scott Hall, and he lands lower back on the steps, and Seth Rollins with a drop kick to the back of Scott Hall and trips him into the steel steps as he comes back from the ropes. And Julia Price reading Rollins the riot act as he goes for the curb stomp, but misses. Scott Hall trips Seth Rollins on top of the steel steps. And again on top of the steps, driving Rollins back first into the steps. Vicious. And a DDT on the apron, pulling him off the steps. And Scott Hall back up with Rollins on the steps. Picks him up for the outsider's edge. On top of the steps. He goes off the steps, out on the apron, and pulling the steps out of the ring to appease Julia Price. Scott Hall thanking Julia Price for not ringing the bell for a disqualification, having a little leniency, and Scott Hall for that No, Rollins kicks out. And Scott Hall driving his knee into Seth Rollins. Rollins out of the way that last time. And slice spread attempt. Lands on his feet and German suplexing Scott Hall across the ring. Seth Rollins with a head kick. And butterflies the arms of Scott Hall. Going for the pedigree. Scott Hall gets out of it, and Rollins jumps on the back of Scott Hall. Scott Hall brings him into the corner, slamming Rollins into the corner. And Scott Hall almost got monkey flipped, but kept his weight in his direction and pins Rollins, and he's got the tights. But Rollins able to kick out. And another pin. Rollins kicks out again. What a knee by Seth Rollins. Goes back towards the corner, goes for the curb stomp, but Scott Hall catches him in the outsider's edge, center of the ring, and Scott Hall with the big win. And your winner, Scott Hall. And coming up next is a huge fatal four-way. This is a star-studded four-way. Let's get it started. Making her way to the ring, Alexa Bliss. We're looking at a former world champion, a powerbomb champion of APE. And another former APE world champion is in this match as well. And here's a former LZW world champion and multi-time world champion all around the world. And next, this is Asuka. And next, representing Seekers of Justice, Molly Holly. Molly Holly is not a former world champion, but she has been kicking a lot of ass as of lately, and maybe she is on the road to becoming one. And last but not least, your CEO, Mercedes Moné. Wait a minute! Zaster is behind Mercedes, and she scared Mercedes, and Mercedes fell and is desperately trying to get away from Zaster. Asuka crossbody to Zaster, and she is not supposed to be in this match, but like Negan said, she is taking over this division. Mercedes coming in with knees to help Asuka, but Zaster catches her and has both her and Asuka, but they head scissor. They work together to head scissor Zaster over. And I'm being told that Zaster has been added to this match, making it a 5-way. And Alexa Bliss locks up with Molly Holly. What a way to kick off this match. And Bliss goes underneath, tries to trip Molly Holly, but she turns around and grabs the headlock. Alexa Bliss shoots Molly Holly off, but she holds on and gets the back of Bliss into the headlock. Molly Holly trying to keep control. Alexa Bliss sends her off again and into a head scissor. But Molly Holly, a drop kick. Mercedes in with a head scissor, taking Molly Holly over. Asuka up on the apron, and Mercedes Moné brings her into the ring, and she stomps down on Molly Holly upon her entrance, and then an enziguri to Mercedes. Alexa Bliss drop kick to her in the corner. Alexa Bliss ducks underneath Mercedes Moné clothesline. Mercedes catches the kick and into crossface submission, and Asuka comes in with a kick to both Bliss and Moné. Asuka tilt-a-whirl head scissor, but Moné holds on and works with Molly Holly. Molly Holly leg drops Asuka in a powerbomb bomb. What is going on? Zaster with a chokeslam off the top rope. Mercedes. What was just on the screen? I'm not sure what we just seen, but back to the action. Disaster picks up Asuka overhead, gorilla press slamming her onto the top rope. I'm getting word backstage that they have no idea what that was. Some kind of glitch. Mercedes, or Asuka, I'm sorry. I don't know. Back to the action. Asuka powerbombs Zaster. Mercedes up to the top rope. Frog splash. Great double team trying to take Zaster out. Molly Holly springs up. And a Phoenix splash by Molly Holly. Beautiful. And it gets a 2 count. May have got a 3 before Alexa Bliss broke it up. Alexa Bliss gets a head kick by Asuka. Asuka with a back kick to the gut. Head kick to Alexa Bliss. And Asuka using Alexa Bliss as a weapon against Zaster. And suplexes Alexa Bliss. Misses the head kick in the corner to Zaster. And Zaster German suplex to Asuka. Alexa Bliss rushes in. Tilt-a-World head scissor, and she gets it. Zaster goes over. She's already competed in a match. If she can win this match, who knows what is in her future. And that would mean Negan is one of the best advocates I've ever seen. But Molly Holly drags Zaster out on the apron and gives her a pile driver. And Asuka with a basement dropkick, sending them both off the apron. Alexa Bliss tilt-a-world. Asuka gets power alley-ooped by Alexa Bliss. Bliss rushes to the top rope. Up to the top. Twisted Bliss misses. Asuka out of the way and locks in the Asuka lock center of the ring. Bliss desperately trying to get to the rope. Asuka's got it fully locked in. Bliss got to her feet, but Asuka drove her right back down to the mat. Bliss is inches away from the rope, but I think she's out. Her arm hasn't dropped yet. Mercedes Moné. Frog splash to break it up. Mercedes with a pin to Asuka. Asuka kicks out, gets the shoulder up, and Zaster come in with a headbutt. Spiral headbutt and goes after Asuka. Asuka lock in on Zaster. Pulling Zaster down to the mat. Zaster trying to keep her base, but Asuka pulls her down. It's inevitable. Zaster, not even she is ready for Asuka. Molly Holly tilts a world head scissoring. Alexa Bliss stomp into Mercedes Moné. And Molly Holly up to the top rope. Stomp breaking up the Asuka lock. A cartwheel stomp. That was beautiful by Molly Holly. And DDTs Asuka into the gut of Zaster. Zaster in agony. Asuka rolls to the center of the ring. Mercedes Moné. And Alexa Bliss gets clotheslined out of the ring by Molly Holly. And Molly Holly on the other side clotheslines Zaster out. The fans erupt for Molly Holly. Could this be her time? And there you see Negan seeing his acquisition get thrown to the floor by Molly Holly. She head kicks Asuka, throws Asuka into the corner, and another head kick rolls through. Up to the top. Asuka up. Molly go round into the pin. And Molly Holly with a big
and
upset.
your winner, Molly Holly.
Molly Holly one step closer to her goal of becoming world champion. Congratulations. Coming up next, Beth Phoenix takes on Eva Lise here on Desolation. Making her way to the ring, Eva Lise.
And her opponent, representing the $1 Million Foundation, Beth Phoenix. Beth Phoenix has made it clear she is after Bianca Belair's LZW World Champion. And that is also her faction mate. Ted DiBiase is a very stressed man right now because of it. And here we go. Ivelisse and Beth Phoenix lock up. Beth Phoenix drives Ivelisse to the mat, and the Glamazon with a Glam Slam early on. And this is going to be a short match. Belly to belly suplex. I think she could have had it after the Glam Slam. Knee to the lower back. And Ivelisse going for a ride with that back suplex. German suplex, high angle. And Julia Price hoping Beth Phoenix will stop the onslaught. Beth Phoenix tells Julia Price to check on Ivelisse as she is heading up for a big clothesline. Ivelisse ducks out of the way and rolls Beth Phoenix up. And Ivelisse on the shoulder of Beth Phoenix into an arm drag. Ivelisse trying to mount a comeback. She misses that kick. Beth Phoenix picks Ivelisse up. Ivelisse escapes and picks Beth Phoenix up and drives her back first onto her knee. Ivelisse seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. Boot to the face off the middle rope. Ivelisse leapfrogs Beth Phoenix and slams her down to the mat. A receipt and then a back kick, spinning back kick by Ivelisse. Powerbomb. Beth Phoenix reverses and a head kick by Ivelisse, tripping Beth Phoenix into the rope. Ivelisse out onto the apron, and she is looking better than anybody expected her to against Beth Phoenix. Shots to the head. And slamming her head first into the turnbuckle. What is she setting up for? A neck breaker. Head first on the turnbuckle, and then that spinning back kick. Dives off the top rope into Beth Phoenix's knee, and Beth Phoenix pulling Ivelisse back into the corner. And she's got her butterflied up on the middle rope. Glam slam from the middle rope, and that is it. Devastating finish to this match. No mercy showed for Ivelisse, who would not stay down, but she was put down by the Glamazon. Beth Phoenix. Wait, Bianca out of nowhere with a head kick to Beth Phoenix. And Bianca Belair pulling Beth Phoenix out onto the apron. She's got her up for the KOD. KOD onto the steel steps. Bianca Belair sending a message after Beth Phoenix did the same at Doomsday Select. And now Bianca with the microphone. You really want a shot against me, Beth? Arrangements for your funeral can be arranged, Beth. Strong words from the EST. We'll straight into our next match, ladies and gentlemen. Making his way to the ring, representing Seekers of Justice, the Hurricane. Hurricane trying to get back in the world title scene. He is the first LZW World Champion. And his opponent, Firebird. Firebird, he has not been in Desolation long, but he has already defeated Swerve Strickland twice and was in the main event of last week's Desolation, where he did take the pinfall to Sky Kid, and he was supposed to face Sky Kid tonight, but Sky Kid could not compete, and Hurricane thought this would be his opportunity to fill out Firebird. We already know Firebird is an elite level competitor, but we have many top competitors here on Desolation, all with the same goal to be the top wrestler. Hurricane with a great backbreaker to Firebird out on the apron and springs up, knee to the back of Firebird and driving Firebird into the corner, and Hurricane rolls Firebird up, springs up to the top rope, and beautiful arm drag by Hurricane, sending Firebird into the corner, and then a drop kick to follow. Hurricane pulls Firebird up on his shoulders. Firebird firing away with shots at the head of Hurricane, gets out of that, driving Hurricane down to the mat. Hits the ropes, clothesline, sending Hurricane inside out and pulls him up into a powerbomb. And then a big knee to the head of Hurricane. Sliding knee, picks him back up. Backbreaker. Hurricane kips up off the knee of Firebird in an enziguri. Springs up, drop kick to Firebird, resting on the ropes. Hurricane springs into the waiting arms and a big slam by Firebird. And alley-oops Hurricane into the corner. Hurricane in the center of the ring, and he put himself in position for an elbow from Firebird, but he fires back with a spin wheel kick to the head of Firebird. And Firebird picking up Hurricane for a tombstone pile driver. Sit out tombstone pile driver and a 2 count. Firebird looking for the biggest win of his career against the first world champion on Desolation. Hurricane rolls up Firebird. Got him stacked. 2 count. Firebird kicks out. Hurricane's got the back of Firebird. Props him up on the top, but Firebird off the back of Hurricane. And a big clothesline sending him to the mat. And a boot to the head of Hurricane on the apron. And Firebird off the top rope, crossbody to Hurricane. Drop kick to Hurricane into the corner. Hurricane out onto the apron. Firebird up to the top rope. Hurricane Rana sending Hurricane back into the ring. Firebird back in the ring, springs up, but eats a drop kick coming down. And Hurricane code red, center of the ring, back up. Hurricane has Firebird on his shoulders. Firebird able to escape and roll up Hurricane. Hurricane goes for a kick to the head, but Firebird avoids it and pulls him back up on his shoulder. And a kick to the head sends Hurricane flying. Dives at Hurricane in the corner. Hurricane gets his boots up and skins the cat to the top rope. Shooting star press. Straight down with all of the velocity that he could muster, but only a 2 count as Firebird shoots that arm up. And a big strike to Hurricane. Picks him back up. German suplex sending Hurricane inside out. Hurricane fires back with a knee. Shots to Firebird on the ropes and trips him out on the apron. Firebird brings him back in with his ankles. And up to the top rope, Hurricane meets him on the top. And Hurricane's got Firebird up and sends him down with a KOD. Bianca Belair's move off the top rope. And a Hurricane Rana, but Firebird turns it into his own powerbomb sit out. Hurricane kicks out at 2. Firebird, big chop and stomp to Hurricane out on the apron. Firebird hits the top turnbuckle, trying to get his fans behind him, and he misses the headbutt. His finisher and Hurricane side effect.
Yo.
Not going for the cover. That might have been a mistake, but I think that was all he had left in that moment. Kick to the gut. Firebird off the back of Hurricane and grabs a German suplex and slams him down back to the mat. Firebird picks him back up and slams him down onto his knee that time. Picks Hurricane back up. Death Valley driver in the corner.
It's looking like it's going Firebird's way, but I'm not sure which way it's going to go. Both of these men giving it all they got in this match. They are pretty evenly matched. Hurricane with a kick to the head. And he's got Firebird up. Vertebreaker center of the ring, and that will do it. Hurricane. And I'm calling this a big win. Firebird put up a lot of fight over a very game competitor. Congrats go out to Hurricane and the Seekers of Justice. 2 big wins for Seekers tonight.
Ready to go to war. I was ready to die out there. That was the biggest challenge that I had. Step up or go home. Listen, I know you're strong enough to fight back.
What the hell?
But sometimes it takes more strength not to fight back.
Woo!
Damn you, Kurt!
Unbelievable. Bobby Lashley rightfully pissed from the pay-per-view. Kurt Angle making it worse. Making her way to the ring. Chris Statlander. And this is the main event. And her opponent. She is the new reigning and defending Powerbomb champion, Julia. Julia just coming off from Doomsday Select where she beat Mercedes Moné in the main event, and here she is now defending in the main event against Chris Statlander, who won this opportunity last week on Desolation in an all-out war match. Julia knee to the gut and a second knee to the gut. Shot to the back by Julia, the champion, and a head kick retaliation by Chris Statlander. Statlander rolling Julia up into a pin. But way too early. She gets a 2 count, though. She had that pin in deep. That is the danger. Julia taking this world title match against such an elite competitor like Chris Statlander. But she comes in, flying head kick. And Julia is not going to stray away from a fight, but she got caught. Saturday Night Fever. She hits her finisher and springing off the middle rope. 450 splash and a 2 count. Julia kicking out. And that wasn't because that was a deep cover. Chris Statlander almost had the win there. Julia now trying to get her bearings back. And a back fist to Chris Statlander, going for a back suplex perhaps, but Statlander elbowing her way out of it. Julia taking Statlander down to the mat. And now she's got the arm hammer locked behind her. Statlander fighting out, but Julia driving her back down to the mat. Statlander powers out again. And she gets to the ropes. Not able to power out, but she gets to the ropes. Julia trying to drag her out of the rope. And Statlander kicks off the top rope and slamming Julia down on the back of her noggin. And picks Julia up for a fall-away slam. And she kips up. And a head kick to Julia. And Statlander uses her leg to pin her. Julia kicks out. And what a German suplex by Statlander. That's the second time Julia's landed on her head in a row. And she rolls up Statlander. Hard impact to the back of Statlander. And Julia has the back on the back of Statlander. And she's got an arm trapped. She takes Statlander down. And look at that fish hooking Stat into the guillotine. Stat fighting to get to the ropes, but Julia rolls her back to the And Stat got her head free. Julia's got wrist control, but Statlander drives her shoulder into Julia into the corner. Multiple shoulder shots to the midsection of Julia. Julia kicks Statlander out of the corner. And Julia moonsaults but gets caught. Statlander going for Saturday Night Fever, but Julia gets a submission, and she's got both legs in this Boston Crab, and she is standing on the back of the head and the wrist of Statlander. What control Julia has in this submission. That is nasty. Look at the neck of Stat as she is trying to get out of this, but all of the torque on her neck. And Julia, as long as she applies pressure, Stat will not be able to break free. She's able to wiggle her head free and kick Julia back into the corner. Stat again, and kicks her up to the top rope. Stat, big shots to Julia on the top rope. Statlander looking for a back suplex. No, she's got her Julia able to get out of the electric chair. And Statlander, what a backbreaker, a side effect for the top rope. Statlander up on the top, and a leg drop from the top rope. Those big thighs of Statlander crashing down across the throat of Julia. And Stat bringing up the knee. Knee to the head of Julia, but Julia rolls up Statlander after that devastating blow to the head. But Stat's shoulders did not remain on the mat. Julia lifting Stat up. Stat escapes and trips Julia back to the mat, and then a super kick to Julia on the ground. And Statlander now using her legs to do a grounded power bomb. Great technique by Stat there, and then a drop kick. A seated Julia. Statlander in firm control of the champion, but as soon as I said that, Julia with the striking Viper center of the ring, and she retains. No, Statlander kicks out of Julia's finisher. Julia had to hit 3 of those in a row against Mercedes Moné to defeat her for the Powerbomb Championship at Doomsday Select. Can she do the same and retain her title tonight? She might have to hit Stat with 3 striking Vipers in a row. She's got Stat hung up on the middle rope and suplexes her back into the ring. Julia with a bulldog to Stat. And a big forearm, misses the head kick. Back suplex by Stat. Stat picks Julia up for a powerbomb. Julia counters out, misses the head kick. Stat. Fisherman Buster suplex to Julia. Out on the apron, Julia drop kicks Statlander out onto the stage and springs up to the top rope. Cross body to Statlander, flying over the ramp. Flying at least 25-30 feet, and powerbomb Statlander onto the Titantron, and Death Valley driving her into the Desolation sign. Picks Statlander up, but Statlander reverses, and a big lariat kick by Stat, and she tumbles down the ramp, but climbs back up the ramp, and a boot to Julia, sending her inside out. Well, we have a new Powerbomb champion, just a few nights removed from Julia becoming the new Powerbomb champion. Julia with a neck breaker and picks Stat back up into a knee strike. And Julia picking Statlander back up. Is she looking for a striking Viper? Yes, she's got her up. Striking Viper on the top of the stage. And Julia with a very slow 10 count. This is the main event. Having some leniency. This match, nobody wants it to go to a count out. Double count out. Julia Big strikes to Statlander forearms. Now Julia Price is yelling at them to get back into the ring. Julia flat out ignoring her, and a head kick to Statlander. Picks her back up for another striking Viper off the stage, sending Stat crashing down on the bottom of the ramp. And Julia still ignoring Julia Price. She just striking Viper Chris Statlander onto the apron. Maybe not. Has finally made her way back into the ring, and she's in the corner waiting for Statlander. Stalking Stat to get to her feet. Stat having to use the rope, but she makes it up to her feet. Julia goes for a flying head kick, but gets caught. Statlander, oh my god, just spiked Julia on the top of her head, and then delivers one hell of a spinning full arm. No way, Statlander knocked Julia out with that forearm, and we have a new Powerbomb champion. And the fans love their new Powerbomb champion, but they also love Julia. Thank you for joining us here tonight on Desolation.